I just know that sometimes you don't want to lean forward and ask questions. I know the disability.
Oh, there is.
I know. Is that on?
Yeah.
Is that on? She says. Huh?
Hey, welcome to the live stream. The one person who's tuned in so far.
There's no one here yet.
There is.
3 people.
3 people.
No rubber band was lost in the way. Fuck it. No rubber band.
It's a little behind the scenes view of Seeker Stream. Oh, I'd say maybe leave it open.
Let's leave it open here.
Will you change that over to video mode, please?
Oh shit, it's going to be do, is it? I thought we charged it.
No. But it'll charge through that.
But if it's too low, sometimes it gets...
What's that?
Nothing.
If you want to... No, that's just because it's plugged in. It will come up as nothing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought, no, normally when it's charging, it shows up as...
If you want to start putting some questions in, and we'll start answering questions, and then our hopefully our technical deviance will be sorted out by then. What's the music?
Techno.
Techno.
Don't look my arse, okay, my VPL.
What's your VPL? Oh my god. You can't see it.
That's right.
Hey.
I'm excited for this. I'm excited.
Paul Forrest had last squat day of block 2 on Monday, 5x5 at 118. Best of luck with that, Paul. Nothing like another 5x5.
You can't hear us anyway.
You can. They hear us do this.
Angle it back a bit. Angle it back and turn it over.
What time is it in Tikistan? It's 10 to 3.
It's Q&A time, that's what it is.
14:51. Okay.
Wait, not really. Have questions rolling, babe? Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, sitting here to make sure
When I'm back here,
angling at the mic.
see, like the text is very far away from me. So Martin Taylor says, "Hey guys, what are your views on muscular endurance? When do you think it's applicable? I.e., what sports or activities? How would you program it in?" Muscular endurance, for the most part, for most of us or most of our athletes, it comes about as a feature of capacity. So it's not purely just like muscular endurance in a traditional sense would be like rock climbing and like heavy grip things you could think of along the lines of muscular endurance.
You mean 20 rep squats, or 30 rep squats?
Yeah,
probably. I think that's the angle.
But so I'm going at this at like a little bit of one of these angles, you know.
Obviously, tossing this one actually.
So when you typically think about like traditional muscular endurance things, they're prolonged activities, large amounts of contractions, or else contractions lasting a long time, and then it's usually a non-power or speed dominated sport. So even though you might have like speed climbing or something like that, most of the time if you're looking at like muscular endurance, it's like these long holds or many reps in a row, like an army fitness test. I think for strength training athletes, you need to focus mainly on speed and power. So muscular endurance only comes in the fact that having the capacity to do muscular endurance work. So if it is along the lines of like 20 rep squats, 15 rep squats, 10 rep squats, you're not really doing them to gain muscular endurance. You're usually doing them in strength sport applications to just gain some capacity, gain some aerobic capacity. So you're training to become better at training. Then when you're training to become better at your sports, you're able to do more volume, more work, more training in general.
So the thing, there's like a distinction between muscular endurance and work capacity, you know. So when you think of muscle endurance, doesn't necessarily mean you have good work capacity. So you could be able to do 50 kilos for 50 reps, but then to repeat that for another set or go on to do a different exercise might not be in your wheelhouse. You might lack that work capacity. Or maybe you could do that again, but it would take you 15 minutes to recover from that set and go again, So there's kind of the work capacity which absolutely every athlete in the world ever needs without fail. Not one athlete you can name who shouldn't have a reasonable level of work capacity. You could argue that they might need a lot of work capacity at their sport, for example. So you might say 100-meter sprinters don't need a lot of work capacity, but they need a lot of work capacity, like a lot of specific work capacity. So to be able to repeat a lot of 100 meters, you could argue that might not be the most important thing, but you could argue they need work capacity to do a shitloads of training.
And
mm-hmm.
people traditionally think the 100 meters is a sprinting event.
Yeah.
What wins 100 meters is the maintenance of top end of speed, and slowing down less than everyone else, not in fact absolute maximal time.
So
even though somebody commented on one of our videos, but their comment was fucking
they were wrong, were they? Delighted. So then you can think about it as when you think about training, right? You should think about your training. It's a really great term that I heard from Ross Edgley's book. We're trying to get on the podcast. We've emailed Ross Edgley, right? So his book, when he swam around Great Britain, he quoted this, a kind of early sports scientist sometime in the 20th century, and I think he was a Hungarian scientist from what I can remember, and he termed the adaptation as adaptation energy. So you only have a certain supply of adaptation energies, and I think that sums up the whole process in one go. So if you are a weightlifter, you don't really need muscular endurance. You need a certain level of muscular endurance, you need a certain level of work capacity, but ultimately you only have so much energy to dictate to one of these things, So a rock climber doesn't need. So if you think about a rock climber training for rock climbing, because that seems to come up a lot lately. If you think about their events, they need good muscular endurance. Is that one of the examples you gave? What else?
Yeah.
So rock climber is something you gave, right? But a rock climber's ability to apply maximal force would be very, very limited. Or a lot of them are quite good athletes, incidentally, but they would have only so much energy. So if you think about muscular endurance on this end of the spectrum, and then their maximal force production, which would be a maximum deadlift on this end of the spectrum. The rock climber is, if you imagine my head as a rock climber on the scale, we're moving over along towards this side of the spectrum. And so you've only so much energy. And then once you start going back towards that side, you take a little bit away from that. You're always kind of moving, and your body's not static, but the longer you spend doing stuff, the more entrenched your body will be in certain parts of things. Now, you can take things like drugs, for example, will do stuff like that. Detraining will put you in different positions and move you back and forward along the spectrum, or probably just down. But muscle endurance, only if you need it, would be something I'd be looking to training for. Then work capacity is something everyone should probably have a lot of, and everyone should go through. Very important for our powerlifters. I know we're on a big tangent here, but we'll go with it. So our powerlifters listening are probably the worst to do any kind of work capacity stuff. You see lots of people with our powerlifting program, so many people, because a lot more people have run in the last few months have come to us.
Is that for you?
It's going to be a few. So a lot of people have come to us and they said, lads, they've commented on the Facebook group and they were like, powerlifting block 1, is this really difficult for anyone else? And it's not that they're failing reps. They said by the time they get to a third set, they're absolutely gassed or they're so fatigued because they have basically no work capacity. And that would be like the first block of the powerlifting program is not a work capacity. So work capacity would be some bit of, they kind of tie with muscular endurance, but ultimately I'll be looking at work capacity for most stuff unless you absolutely need muscular endurance, which marathon runners would, schmock climbers, who else needs it? Snooker players. What do you call it? Oh my god, camera died.
What's that battery at?
That's the result.
See the other camera.
The other one said it's also not back.
No, he's this one.
Oh yes, sir. So people should be say here to be back in a second. Their camera just edit maybe.
Everything is.
Why didn't they switch over?
Don't know. Don't know.
That might be your thing. Maybe yours here. Can someone comment if you can still hear us? You should be able to hear us. Just anyone comment to say if you can still hear us. Our camera is just shit in the bed. Yeah, people they can sit here.
Okay.
Someone said they can sit here in all caps, so they can definitely hear. What the fuck? Wasn't that? So we were using a separate camera. Sorry, we're back.